Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to start off with the Copilot for Security session for this webinar. My name is George Awasamra. I'm a principal consultant and security practice lead here at ProServeIT. All right, as for the agenda today, so first we're going to start off by explaining what is Microsoft Copilot for Security. There's a lot of different AI tools out there. We want to help you understand what is Copilot for Security and its benefits. Then we'll talk a little bit about how Copilot for Security works. I'll let you know high level how it works, and then we can dig a little bit deeper throughout this webinar as we'll talk about the different security products that it can integrate with as well. I'll also explain what you need to do to get started with Copilot for Security. Different Copilots have different starting points. What do you need to get Copilot for Security into your environment and active today? I'll then explain the two different methods to access Copilot for Security. And then we'll go through some scenarios where you as a business can use Copilot for security and examples for real world applications as well. And then we'll go through some FAQs around Copilot for security and specifically tied around managed security service providers as well. I'll go through a quick demo of how Copilot for security works and expand on some of the use cases. And then last but not least, we'll go through a Q&A session to answer any questions that you might have. So what is Microsoft Copilot for security? Copilot for Security is a Microsoft-developed security tool that leverages Microsoft-developed security models that are specific to cybersecurity. You've already heard about the various other Copilots out there, Copilot for GitHub, for scripting assistance, Copilot for sales, Copilot for Microsoft 365, which you're going to go through in just a little bit today. In this case, as the name states, it is specific to cybersecurity. It uses the Microsoft technologies and combines them with large language models. So first and foremost, enables responses in minutes and not hours. So Copilot for Security provides security analysts clear and actionable insights in minutes as opposed to hours. And as you already know, when it comes to security, every second counts. This is where Copilot for Security can be that support that security analysts need to respond to security incidents quicker. So rather than the security analysts triage the incidents and think about what to do next, Copilot can give you that almost instantly. Another thing about Security Copilot or Copilot for Security is that it uses natural language prompts like ChatGPT does. So you can talk with it, chat with it, and it performs those tasks in a much shorter process. In short, it speaks your language. And another interesting area that Security Copilot focuses on is that it uses advanced machine learning algorithms and AI to analyze security events in real time. It combines this with the data from multiple sources. For example, your threat intelligence feeds, your login activities, your device information, your XDR platform, Defender XDR, and it gains a deeper understanding of the potential impact of each event that's happening. And by doing this, it can identify patterns and potentially anomalies that other systems might miss. And it can correlate those unrelated events to determine if they are part of a larger attack. For example, let's say Copilot for Security identified an unusual activity on a user's account. Maybe it's repeated login events from different locations, different IP addresses, different computers, or maybe it's just an unusual data download. It can then use that understanding of the context to determine, is this activity suspicious or not? Is this person using a VPN based on their history? Let's take a look at the last X amount of days and determine what is the pattern for this user and the way they've been logging in. Have they always been logging in from this VPN service, from these IP addresses? Has this been approved by the SOC analysts that have been reviewing these tickets in the past? Have they been considered to be benign positive, meaning that they are suspicious, but they are expected? So all that information is fed within your environment that Copilot can make use of. And that's because Copilot, from a security perspective, has a more comprehensive view of your organization's security posture, and it can compare the activity to that historical data, the user behavior, and also potentially known threat vectors as well. And because Copilot for Security can analyze the security information in real time, this reduces the burden on security analysts who can then focus on more complex tasks that require human expertise. So all in all, it is used for various reasons, and we'll be elaborating more on those reasons and certain use cases as part of this webinar today. But primarily, it's for us defenders to be able to move at the speed and scale of AI. So how does Copilot for Security work? We're going to talk high level first. So first and foremost, a human submits a prompt. And you want to make sure that the prompt is as descriptive as you can to allow the orchestrator to build out the context and get you the answer that you're looking for. So if you want the answer to be in a specific format, maybe in a table or a bulleted list, make sure to specify as much detail as possible within your prompt to get the best out of Copilot. Copilot then accesses the different plugins for pre-processing. So these plugins could be Microsoft related or third-party solutions as well. So it's not just related to Microsoft solutions. If you have invested in third-party security products, you can also somehow, some way integrate those plugins directly with Copilot and make use of your investment there as well. As an example, if you have plugins configured for the Defender XDR portal, for Microsoft Sentinel, Entra ID, Intune, those can be considered as the Microsoft solutions that are integrated directly within Copilot. And you've also invested in third-party security solutions like maybe Splunk, Darktrace, Shodan, URL scans, maybe to ServiceNow as your ticketing system, so on and so forth. So depending on the plugins and what's available today, and obviously with time, we're going to see more and more plugins come through, you can have Copilot integrate with your Microsoft solution, with your third-party solutions, and all work together to give you the insight needed for analyzing the security incidents in front of you. Copilot then sends the modified prompt to the LLM, to the large language models, and then receives it back as a response. Copilot then accesses the plugins for post-processing to make sure that the plugins that need to be used are there, and eventually will provide you back with the response in the formatting that you had requested. So all you need to know from your perspective is, as humans, just provide information as much as possible within your prompt, and Copilot will do its thing to provide you with the formatting that you requested the information with. If you want it more of a detailed response, is it a technical audience? Is it a non-technical audience? Make sure to provide that within your prompt, and then Copilot will do the rest on its own. Now, this is something really important to understand. You have OpenAI here on the left side, and you have Microsoft Security on the right. Now, what this indicates is that OpenAI and Microsoft are two separate companies. While they do leverage each other, for example, OpenAI uses Microsoft's hardware, their services, their data centers within Azure, and Microsoft uses OpenAI's large language models. So Microsoft doesn't directly send requests to OpenAI. It's basically just a copy of their models within Microsoft's data centers, and paired with Microsoft's large language models with security as well. Now, the unique foundation between these is so that we want to leverage the technology of the large language models, but also isolate it in a way where it combines the hyperscale technology that Microsoft has within its security models and all the threat intelligence signals it's capturing, about maybe 65 trillion signals globally every single day. And it combines that in a way where customers can leverage that information without it being shared on the internet and compromising your own data. And what's that? Your data is your data. Microsoft does not use your data to sell or train their own models, and it's not being shared externally. Now, think of it as just like any other resource in Azure. When you spin it up, it's in an isolated container. You have full control over the container, who has access to it. You can configure role-based access control, network security, so on and so forth. And the data is protected end-to-end, whether it's in transit or whether it's stored. And we can't stress on this enough, as it's been a topic of conversation with a lot of customers, a lot of clients, because they use the ChatGPT for reference. ChatGPT is a paid, but it's also a free service on the internet. It's also separate from what we have in Azure. It does use the underlying technologies, but the information is not being shared with OpenAI at all. The next big thing that I love about Copilot for Security is that it is the belly button of the tooling, in a sense that you have a single interface to be able to ask it questions between the various product families. So right now you have to go through every single one of the portals. You have to access them. You have to make sure you have the correct permissions and everything's set up. And you have to be a subject matter expert on all of them as well. So if you're part of a SOC, you're a SOC analyst and you're a threat defender. If you're not an expert in all these areas, then there's definitely a gap there. Now, where with Security Copilot or Copilot for Security, you're able to get that single interface. Ask it a question, it understands the context of what you're asking, and it will interact with those services at a senior subject level matter expert. Now, it might not give you the exact answer you want from the first time, which is part of it learning, But over the course of several interactions, it's going to be able to give you the information that you want using the different security contexts and scaling. And once you get a hold of what the prompts should look like to give you the information that you're actually looking for, it's going to be easier with time for you to prompt it with the correct questions, and you're going to get the answers as you had requested them. Now, this has the potential to empower anyone to use this and to be able to work at an expert level across these tools. And anyone who's not thinking like this, in a sense of building their tools with AI, is probably going to be left behind with time. So it's crucial that you make that jump into the AI world, especially with Security Copilot or Copilot for Security, so that way you can stay ahead of the attackers. Now, what do you need to get started with Copilot for Security? It's quite simple. An Azure subscription. That's all you need to get started. And if you don't have an Azure subscription, it's also easy to get one. So you can either add one yourself as a pay-as-you-go model. So if you already have a Microsoft 365 tenant, you're using Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. So you've already have that foothold within the Microsoft world. Or if you have a cloud solution provider like ProServeIT, we can create a subscription on your behalf as well. There's many different ways that you can get an Azure subscription, but that's the only thing that you need to do to get started. And the Azure subscription will be tied with your Microsoft 365 tenant, which allows you to provide access to Copilot for the members within your organization. Now that's where it starts. And then comes the plugins. So what do you want to plug into your Copilot for security? You got your Defender XDR if you've invested in those licenses, in Intune if you have licenses for Intune, Entra ID, Microsoft Sentinel, so on and so forth. The Purview world with data security and data governance. So depending on what you have within your environment from a licensing perspective, those can also be incorporated within your Copilot for Security journey. Now, how do you access Copilot for Security? There are two main ways to access Copilot for Security. First is you can use the standalone version and experience it in its own portal, and that would be securitycopilot.microsoft.com. There you can configure the integration of the various security products or security solutions and the various third-party or first-party plugins as well. Or you can use the embedded experience that can be found within each security portal. So if you log into the Defender XDR portal, or within Intune, or within Entra ID, there's going to be an embedded experience there where Copilot is just going to exist. You click on the incident, and you're going to have the information from Copilot around that incident, around information around what you're looking to do. Now, an example of that is the embedded experience, and this is what it looks like. So there was an incident created here in the Defender XDR portal, and Copilot provided the security analyst with a summary almost instantly. This is a simple incident, but the more complex the incident is, the more information will provide you based on the attack kill chain and the recommended next steps on how to remediate or mitigate the threat. So what you see here on the right side of the screen is Copilot as an embedded experience. And this is the standalone experience. So we're going to go through both examples during our demo today, but I just figured I'd show you some screenshots of what that looked like right now. You type in your prompt and it will generate responses directly here. So I used the same incident in this case as the previous example here, just asking Copilot to provide an incident report for incident ID 7916. So because I have Defender XDR integrated with my Copilot for Security environment, it was able to extract that information and provide me more insight into what's going on. And now I can prompt more questions around the incident if I need more information, or if I need to create some sort of graphics or some charts or an incident summary for the executive team that's not technical, directly from here as well. What are some use cases and capabilities of Copilot? So I'm only going to go through some of the use cases, but the sky's the limit, especially when there's constant improvements and additions being made to Copilot on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind that the product is somewhat still new. It became generally available to the public on April 1st, I believe, of this year. So expect changes to happen regularly as more feedback is provided back to Microsoft as well. So the first use case that we're going to talk about today is the incident investigation within Defender 365 or within Microsoft Sentinel. Now, here I've just listed some of the prompts that can help us or help security analysts with the investigation. For example, summarize the Defender or the Microsoft Sentinel incident ID 1111. Give me a summary of what's going on with this specific incident. You can also prompt it to tell you about the entities associated with that incident. What IP addresses, what usernames, what file hashes, what servers, workstations, who's involved with this incident. Is it one device, one user? Is it multiple users? Is it multiple IPs? Where did the attack come from? Just to give you more insight about the entities associated with it. You can also ask it about the reputation scores for the IP addresses on the incident. For example, if you're being attacked from a specific IP address, it's part of the entity list. You want more information about that IP address. Who's the ISP? What's the country? What's the reputation score? Has it been used for malicious purposes in the past? Has it been used for attacks in the past? Is it part of your threat intelligence platform? Is it being used by some sort of known hacking entity out there, some attack vectors out there that are well known, and they typically use this IP to attack organizations? So give me some more information about the entities, or in this case, the IPs that are involved. And let's say there are users involved as part of this attack. Show us the authentication methods set up for those users. What kind of MFA have they used? Are they using the Authenticator app? Are they using SMS-based MFA, which we obviously don't recommend because of SIM swap attacks? Maybe they were compromised through an SMS-based attack. Somebody compromised their phone number, their SIM card. They went to a phone provider and said, hey, I forgot my SIM card. I lost it. Provide me with a new one. Here's my fake ID. And now they have their way through because they have SMS as their MFA method, and now they got through. So show me the authentication method so I can make sense of the attack and how it happened. And if there are users and devices as part of the entity list, tell me what devices this user has been using. Are they logging in and connecting from a compliant device? All the devices should be Intune enrolled and compliant with our policies. Was this device not compliant with our policies during this attack? And last, write me an executive summary to summarize this attack. What's going on? Maybe it's that you want it to be suited for a non-technical audience. Give me that information as well. Another use case could be to review a suspicious script. So maybe it was a macro that was embedded in one of the files that was shared with the user. Maybe it was a script that was detected by Defender for Endpoint that was running on an endpoint. You want to make sense of it. All you have to do is just ask Copilot for Security to analyze the script and give you information about it. So you can ask it, explain if the script is stealing information, stealing credentials, performing destructive activities. You can also have it create some sort of detection query. So extract certain indicators from this specific script. So that way I can create my query on the back end, whether it's in Sentinel or Defender, to monitor for that activity. So maybe the indicator is a file hash because it's a known malware. It's a malware that's been deployed, and now we have the hash for it. I want to make sure that, is this hash noticed elsewhere on any other endpoint? Maybe it's an IP address. Maybe it's a URL, a domain. So that way you can create your own detection queries or have Copilot for Security created on your behalf. And eventually you can implement it in your environment to monitor if anybody else is anywhere else that those indicators are witnessed as well. It can also help you provide remediation recommendations, and of course, a summary at the end, maybe in an executive summary report. Another use case could be to get information about a threat actor. So all you have to do is just say, ask Copilot to give you a profile summary of some known threat actor. Let's say Hazel Sandstorm in this case. It'll tell you how Hazel Sandstorm operates, what IP addresses they're known for to use, what attacks they're known to use, how they break into your environment, what are the vulnerabilities they might use to break in, so on and so forth. Ask it to summarize the TTPs or the tactics, techniques, and procedures based on the MITRE ATT&CK techniques and framework, and provide you with an output in maybe a specific format. Let's say a bulleted list in this example. What are some of the mitigation techniques to protect against this threat actor? So maybe they haven't attacked you yet, but are you vulnerable to their attacks? How can you mitigate your environment against attacks from specific threat actors? And it'll list you the steps to do. And again, a summary with details of what you want to achieve as well. And finally, the last use case we'll be talking about today would be a vulnerability impact assessment. So let's say there is a vulnerability with a CVE ID of, let's say, CVE 2024-1111. Now, Copilot can give you information about the vulnerability and if it impacts the devices connected to the internet, or even the devices that you have enrolled within Defender for Endpoint. Does this vulnerability exist on your endpoints? Can somebody utilize this vulnerability to attack you and gain access to your computer or to your server? The next step would be to have Copilot provide you some sort of mitigation techniques or strategies on how to mitigate the risk. And again, a summary about the vulnerability and maybe a list of affected devices for someone that's less technical. Again, the sky's the limit with this type of technology. It's up to you to come up with the prompts and the use cases. Microsoft has developed a whole bunch of use cases that are available online for you to use, especially within the Copilot for Security product. There's some samples there that you can make use of and even create your own prompt library as well. Now, there seems to be some confusion around Copilot for Security and whether organizations actually need to still invest in a security operations center or not. I'd figure I'd outline some of the top 3 questions or comments around that and help clear the air as well. So the first question or comment is, Copilot for Security can replace or reduce my reliance on my managed security service provider. Copilot for Security is meant to be your assistant and does not replace human expertise. So MSSPs and the talent that they've invested in cannot be replaced by AI solutions because you still need that human element in most cases. And a simple way to put it is that it's called Copilot and not Pilot. So it is your assistant. You still need that human element to manipulate the data and review the incidents and review the data that Copilot spits out, and either have Copilot enact on it, or you as a security analyst review all the information provided to you and act on it as quickly as possible. And another question that we often get is, we have an SLA contract with our MSSP. Why do I need Copilot for Security? So an SLA is pretty much how long something can take before an action or resolution is completed. It's part of the agreement that you make with your MSSP. However, when it comes to security, as I mentioned earlier, is that every second counts. And you want to be able to detect, triage, and respond to incidents as quickly as possible. So having Copilot is an advantage that MSSPs can have to act and react to security incidents quicker in your organization and help reduce the cost and damage of an attack. And lastly, Copilot for Security is a double investment that I pay for, where my MSSP benefits while their managed SOC service offering isn't reduced, or the cost isn't reduced. So as attacks become more sophisticated with time, and due to attackers becoming smarter, and because threat actors are also using AI to improve their attack, as defenders, we have to level the playing field one way or another. So why not use AI to support the human element and human expertise so that the customer can benefit from the wealth of knowledge that the analysts have, coupled with AI to achieve the common goal, which is to protect the organization from attacks. All right, let's go through a quick demo around Copilot for Security and what that looks like. First and foremost, what we're going to see here on the screen is the embedded experience from the Defender XDR portion. I just chose a random incident in this case, unusual ISP for an OAuth app. This is the OAuth app that was connected from an unusual ISP. That's because historically, it did not connect from this specific IP address or from that specific ISP. During this time, this day, it did, and we got alerted by it. And you can see here on the right side of the screen where Copilot gave us a summary. So this was a credential access. The OAuth app's name was logged in from a Bell Mobility ISP. This is the IP address. And it found that it was unusual usage pattern. So it could be a compromised app because that IP address or that ISP was not witnessed before, based on the historical evidence that it has, accessing this specific application. And it gives us at the bottom here, is this testing? I can classify the incident as a true positive, it's expected, it's a benign positive, it's a false positive, and complete the guided response that Copilot has here. Now, it depends on how complicated or complex the attack is. You're going to have multiple different incidents or multiple different alerts within the same incident here that will obviously generate more recommendations and more detailed summaries. For the sake of this webinar, I just chose some random easy incident to walk you through. So this is the embedded experience, and this is securitycopilot.microsoft.com. This is where we access the standalone experience. So you come in here, you integrate your various sources. So if it is Microsoft related, you select what Microsoft solutions you want to integrate this with. And if you have non-Microsoft solutions, this is where they'll show up. And you can set them up, whether it's through APIs or whatever the connection method is for these various third-party resources. You can at least configure them here as well. All right, so we've integrated almost every single Microsoft 365 connector here, the plugins. all we have to do is just type in the prompt that we want. And then it's going to search through those plugins and provide us the information that we're looking for. For the sake of this webinar, I'm just going to go through my sessions that I've already asked it, prior to this webinar today, just to make sure everything's running perfectly fine. So first and foremost, I was asking it to summarize a CVE incident, a CVE 2024-1111, and give me the impact. And within 21 seconds, it chose the Defender Threat Intelligence plugin. It got the CVE details for the ID, and then it took 9 seconds to prepare this response. So now it gave me a short narrative, exactly what I asked it for, letting me know if this is the vulnerability that impacts devices on the internet, and providing me with a bullet point list for the impacted technology. So these are the technologies that are impacted by this specific vulnerability. All right, the next one was, what mitigation techniques can I put in to mitigate this specific vulnerability? So what can I do to mitigate this threat? And again, within 27 seconds, again, reaching out to the Defender Threat Intelligence plugin, giving me information about the CVE, and what are the mitigation techniques that I need to implement. So as a security analyst, it will definitely not take you 27 seconds to get all this information, but because we have all the plugins configured, now we are expediting the response to a specific attack or specific vulnerability with detailed information on what the next step should look like and what we should be performing. And another example is potentially analyzing a script. So let's say this is one of the scripts that was analyzed, that was found during one of your incident response. You detected within Defender for Endpoint that this script ran on one of the endpoints. Because you don't know how to read a script, you want to make sure that you understand what it means. So within 1 minute and 2 seconds here, it broke down everything related to the script, what it means in detail, what it's trying to do, and at the end of a summary of what it's trying to do. So it's trying to download a file. These actions could be destructive. They could steal information. They could change sensitive information. And this typical behavior of what attackers do to download malware on your endpoint. And of course, directly from here, as I mentioned earlier, you can take a look at the summaries directly out of your Defender portal. So this is the incident ID 7916, which is this one, directly out of Copilot within the standalone experience, because we have the integration created. And you can also ask it questions around your incidents within Sentinel as well, because that is also part of the integration that we've done within Copilot for security. And that is it for the demo. Thank you.